The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is
Wednesday.
Wednesday, hump day, day after the election day. Everybody's, a lot of people crying in their beer and a lot of people drinking champagne. So,
well, that's always how the elections go.
Yeah, well, no, it's time to pick up and move forward.
Hopefully we move forward.
Well, hopefully we learn some things, and it was a rather bizarre election. Really.
Yeah, it was. But you know, here's the thing that got me. You had everyone in the city screaming for change. Everyone wants change. Everyone wants change. Everyone wants change. But then these morons go to the ballot box, and they vote for the same things. They vote for the same people. They could have had 9 brand new city councilors, or at least 6, or even 5. No, instead they've got 1 brand new councilor. 1. All the rest are retreads. Okay? Yeah. You know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, thinking you're going to make a difference. And the outcome's going to be different. It's not.
Well, I tried to look at this thing, you know, and try to get something positive. You know, don't everybody croak out there because I said that out of this thing. And I did see a better turnout.
Yes.
A good turnout. Now, let's not be like the people who said Trump never had a chance and then all the political pundits were wrong. We didn't make any predictions in this election, although we have said in many cases when the citizens get the opportunity, they don't make the changes that are necessary. But, you know, the only thing we can say is more people in the city spoke in this election. Obviously, by the results, that uptick in attendance at the election were people who were loyal to, obviously, city council candidates who did not run in a primary. So it seemed that we had a lot of people that didn't come out to the election, which kind of showed a kind of, you know, I don't care about the mayor or there's nothing we can do about it, mayoral election, because obviously, based on the primary, you would say that it would have been a closer final election because you would say people who didn't come out to vote for the incumbent because he really pushed hard to get as many people as he could. But a lot of people apparently weren't happy, you know, with the campaign that was run against him. And I know he said she didn't offer any solutions. She didn't answer any questions. And, you know, for the most part, he was right. So he's got a second term, so hopefully he learned by having to worry about this election that you know, we got to start thinking about the people of Fall River. We got to remember one of the questions that was submitted in a debate about this community having nearly 25% of its people living below the poverty level, many people who are retired on fixed incomes, owning homes and barely making it, and that we're going to stop with these insane pay raises and bonding and bonding and bonding. They approved another bond, and you know, now they're going to be coming at us with the school. I don't know how some of the people in the city of Fall River who are already complaining a lot about the cost are going to maintain their houses. So what are we going to be left with? Maybe that's what they really want. Maybe they really want a city of only rich and people who they can stick in subsidized housing. I don't know. Maybe they don't want people in lower median incomes and people with just, you know, just normal jobs. Maybe maybe we only want, you know, the rich and the poor in this city, because a lot of the people in median income have moved out. That's one of the reasons these elections go the way they do, because years ago, if somebody raised taxes and fees the way these last 3 or 4 mayors have done, they would have had a jet engine pack on their back. They would have gone out so fast.
Because tenants don't understand. For some reason, they don't understand, okay, that when the taxes go up, when the water bill goes up, when the sewer bill goes up, somebody's got to pay for it. And for some reason, I think they believe the landlord, the property owner, is going to pay that. They're not. They're going to raise your rent. Now, the median rents in Fall River have gone up drastically because of this market rate housing influx. How many people in Fall River do you think can afford to pay $1,250 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment?
Yeah,
and that's where this is going.
And a lot of them aren't paying their rent anyway. We have all kinds of problems with evictions and lack of payments and late payments, and a lot of the property owners are complaining. But you know what showed, you know, this, you look at this thing and they're going to try to spin it and say, oh, look, there was a massive victory, you know, a mandate for the mayor. It wasn't as big as Flanagan. Look what happened to Flanagan in a year. 70-30, this was like 69, I don't know, you know. So,
it's 60-40.
60, well, 39 point something, they said on 12. But say 60-40, which, you know, it's a big margin. But you know what got me? Because they're going to say, oh, look, it shows how everybody is happy with the mayor. Well, I'm not that sure, because let's look over at the city council race. Who topped the ticket in the city council race?
Cliff Ponte.
Cliff Ponte, and who was second?
Sean Kadim.
2 people who were in staunch opposition of many of the mayors who they said they were not happy with, and a lot of his supporters came out against, and yet they topped the ticket. So therein lies the, you know, the dysfunctional nature of Fall River. We end up with, you know, well, so maybe that reverts back. They weren't so much happy, you know, enthralled with the mayor, but they weren't enthralled with the other option.
Yeah, but you know, you have to look at the fact. I mean, Cliff Ponte received 7,120 votes. Okay, now if those people are supporting Cliff because he didn't agree with the mayor, those 7,000 votes should have appeared in Linda's column, but they didn't. Yeah. All Linda gained from the primary was 600 votes, which is about 20 votes per precinct. Okay, plus or minus a vote here or there. That's not a lot of votes from the primary. Well, so basically, you know, Linda's campaign busted its wad at the primary. And well, why is that?
They did not key. But look, I don't think it was just strictly because, you know, I don't think they voted for Cliff Ponte and Sean Kadim just because they opposed the mayor.
No.
I think that maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but I think a lot of the people that looked at the council meetings and people who listened, and there are a lot more than you think. People, you know, they clandestinely watch these meetings at home, and then because they talk, you know, they come up to me and talk about something that happened at a meeting. But I think that they appreciated the fact that both of these guys did a lot of homework on a lot of issues. They had numbers. They did very accurate, you know, they did very accurate cross-examinations of some of the numbers. And it seemed that they were putting the time and effort into understanding these issues. You know, numerous times they caught the financial team with errors in what they were presenting. And I think they were, you know, you can like or dislike, because a lot of people was, you know, I know a lot of people said, oh, I don't think Sean Kadim's going to do that well because of some of the issues he had about running the meetings. But apparently, a lot of the people looked at these candidates and said, hey, you know, I think these guys are doing a really good job. They're going above and beyond the average counselor. They're doing their homework. It seems that they're putting time into understanding the issues far more than the rest. And obviously the rest, you got the same olds back. Leo got back in, and so, you know, Fall River is continuing its dysfunctional political process here, because there are a lot of things that you have to look at, and you kind of like, they're almost contradictions when you look at who topped the ticket in the council and the mayoral race. It's almost a contradiction, because some of his greatest antagonists are at the top of the ticket. They are at the top of the ticket. And I think, my personal opinion, and I'm not asking to agree, I think both of those gentlemen deserve to be up there. Whether I agreed or disagreed with some of their positions, they showed me that they actually did some work, did some research into a lot of issues. I was impressed with their, with their research, which is something that the voters have to do more. Because I will tell you right now, I am extremely, extremely disappointed that this charter went through. I mean, there are all kinds of ambiguities in there. There's contradictions. And contrary to what Mr. Mayoza said, they radically changed the landscape of the political process in Fall River. And that he said they didn't. They didn't try to do too much. Yet you throw out the old charter and you changed everything. And that synopsis of the question was totally skewed. It didn't talk about things. And look, right out of the gate, we've already got an article about one of the individuals who was elected to the school committee may not be able to hold office under this new charter. And, that just goes to show they're, as far as I'm concerned, they are taking the people, this charter takes the people's rights away. And there may be some legal questions, because I'll tell you what, this individual got elected by the voters of the city of Fall River. Now, I understand there's always been an issue about taking a salary, because years ago we had a councilor named Veloso, who was a teacher, I believe, and he had to choose between his teacher's salary and his city council salary, which obviously he took his teacher's salary because the council doesn't make that much. It's a kind of a part-time gig, and at the time they were making virtually nothing. But he was allowed to serve. Mr. Hetzler should be allowed to hold a duly elected office. And a charter that prevents somebody from holding a duly elected office, as far as I'm concerned, is infringing on his right as a citizen and as a taxpayer and as a candidate.
Now, Mr. Hetzler said that he'll serve without taking a stipend or pay, whatever it may be.
Well, he doesn't have much choice in that.
Right.
He's got to
because you can only derive one salary.
Yeah.
But he believes that he's going to be grandfathered in and allowed to serve. Wrong. This charter takes effect upon passage. Now, it passed last night, but it's not certified for 10 days. After 10 days in its certification, it's passed. It goes into effect. Mr. Hetzler does not become a school committee member until January. Therefore, he's not grandfathered in.
That's true. But again,
so therefore he cannot serve.
Yeah. And here we have already with this charter, because it's infringement on the people's rights. Mr. Hetzler ran in an election. He satisfied all the qualifications. He got the signatures, put his name on the ballot, he campaigned, and he got elected. And as far as I'm concerned, the people spoke. Whether some people agree or disagree, there are people who support it. That's irrelevant now. The election's over. The people have spoken. He was elected by the people of Fall River. Where does the government get its right to abrogate the right of an American citizen, a voter, and a taxpayer? That's why, the people just didn't do enough research on this charter. There are so many ambiguities. There are no ward councils.
Well, what's interesting is, Brenda Venice, John Sylvia, Chris Bartley, Mike Mayoza said that and Augie Venice were saying that we were spreading false information about this charter. And that's fine. This is a campaign season. I don't have a problem with it. But I consider what I heard last night outside of the broadcast room by Brenda Venice an insult to the voters. She turned around and she says, "We won. We won." No, you didn't win. You're supposed to be saying the people won.
Yeah, well,
the people are supposed to win. You didn't have a pony in this race. Okay? You did your job as an elected official. Whether it passed or lost was not your concern, Miss Venice. Whether it passed or lost was not your concern. Your concern was, did we do our job, yes or no? And if it passes and the people voted to pass, That's the way it is. If they voted down, then that's the way it is. The people spoke and the people won.
Yeah.
You, Miss Venice, did not win personally. And you and your husband have done everything possible to discredit people like myself, like Mr. Camara, like Mr. Robillard, by saying we're spreading around false rumors and lies. And that's wrong.
Well,
that is wrong. And you know what?
CJ,
I don't have a bad taste in my mouth about this. The people spoke. That's the way I look at it.
Well, look, we did not we didn't run a campaign.
Well, according to them, we spent $40,000. According to Mr. Sylvia,
I didn't spend 40 cents. What we did was express our opinion, point out what we thought was wrong, and then they said we were lying. They're the ones who were lying because they misrepresented everything. Here's a classic example. But the problem is, I understand, and I don't agree with it, but I understand why people don't read a 58-page document.
Right.
Because it's done intentionally. And, this is the kind of fallout you get. People are going to be sorry. If you read the charter, one of the appointees to the changing the charter is one of these commissioners that was elected in 2015. So that means in the year 2025, when they're changing the charter, in 10 years, we have to appoint someone that we elected 10 years previously. What's wrong with that statement? We should get to elect people in every charter. And the other thing is, they talked about when you get signatures for initiative, you have to get 25 from every ward. Why? Do you realize what that sets up? We didn't have time to do this, and it's unfortunate, and educate the public. Do you realize that if one ward doesn't like something, they can stop the whole process?
Yeah.
So you get everybody in your ward. Let's say somebody who's powerful in a ward, and everybody else in the city of Fall River wants this. One ward can stop the process by not signing. You get 25 signatures from every ward. That's a stipulation in this charter. This charter is crap. You voted for it. We got to live with it. But hopefully there'll be some legal challenges. And already the fallout. We said this flew in the face of government. This flew in the face of the rights of the people. Now the rights of Mr. Hetzler are being violated. And the thing is that he was elected by the people of Fall River. That is the final say, according to our government. This is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. It says it in our Constitution. It says it in the Commonwealth's Constitution. Now it doesn't say that in the Charter. It says this is a government of the politician, by the politician, and for the politician. Of the Charter, for the Charter, and by the Charter. Charter's supposed to reflect the basic tenets of the government of this nation. Unless we secede from the United States and make Fall River an independent nation, Mr. Hetzler deserves to be a school committeeman. And if he's thrown out, that's an outrage. And as you said, CJ, it looks to me legally that he may have to leave. Because that's what the charter says.
That's right. And unless there's a challenge. Now, if it becomes a constitutional challenge, this whole charter could be thrown out.
Yep.
Okay. Which then what happens? Do we go back to because under the law we can't if it's thrown out we can't rewrite the charter.
Yep.
We can resubmit it next municipal election, but in its same form. But it's already been thrown out. So the whole charter process was done and cost us money for nothing. I don't think that anyone's going to take it to court. I really don't. It costs too much money to do, and nobody's going to challenge it constitutionally. But again, if it came up to a constitutional challenge, which I think would prevail in court, I think what you're going to see is that if it comes up to that and it gets thrown out, there's going to be a lot of people, because guess what? If it's thrown out on a constitutional issue, maybe there'll be civil actions against the charter commissioners.
Well, this is exactly the example of what we were saying. And it didn't take long. 1 minute after the election results, what we were talking about this infringing on the rights of the people to control their government there's an example. Here's a man, Joshua Hetzler, that was elected by we the people of Fall River. And now they're going to say he can't serve as a school committeeman?
5,243 people said, we want you as our school committee member.
And so guess what? You know what they just gave? Not only to him, but to the entire system. Why bother voting? I mean, you've just precluded everybody that's a city employee from running for that office.
Don't try to ever get a recall again, because it's not going to happen.
Well, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, there's just so many issues. But isn't it a tremendous irony that, look, 1 minute after, and I was watching it and I got nauseous. I had to actually go find a bucket when Mike Mioza was saying we didn't really, we didn't try to go too far. We didn't go. We just tweaked it a little bit. You took the damn voters' rights away from them. This charter says that the people of Fall River don't count. They elected Joshua Hetzler to the school committee, and he should be on the school committee. It's his right to be on the school committee. As a voter, oh, God. Oh, somebody threw something. That's okay. Probably one of the charter commission just tried to hit me with something. I don't know. Or something fell off the ceiling. No, I'm only kidding. But that's wrong. I mean, look, call me crazy, but, I'm all about, you fight the fight. You fight for what you think is right. And then when you get a vote, the majority rules. The people of Fall River spoke. We should be the final authority on who represents us. It says it in our Constitution, by the way. Forget about the United States Constitution. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, our favorite document, part of the first Section 5, that all magistrates and elected officials are agents of the people and at all time answerable to the people. How does this charter make the city of Fall River answerable to the people when the vote, a valid and legal election, and the voters of Fall River selected Mr. Hetzler to be their representative to the school committee, and then now they're going to tell them, well, the charter says you can't hold office. See you later. Take a break. Look, we've had this issue for years about public employees. As I said, going back, 30 years when Mr. Veloso was on the city council, he had to choose. He had to choose between one pay or the other. Mr. Hetzler would have to choose because you can't collect two pays. But that's it. Doesn't say you can't serve. And obviously, I read in the article about ethics commissions and stuff. We have an ethics commission which rules on any issue that may come before the school committee that might be a conflict of interest.
This isn't an ethical issue, though. This isn't an ethics issue.
No, but I'm just saying that you can go to the ethics commission if you're on a board and you think there's anything in question. You can go to the state ethics commission and ask for an opinion. We've had city councilors do that and people on a school committee numerous times. Right. So let's make sure before you take a vote you're not doing anything that you could be censured for or feel it's wrong. So you go ask for an opinion. I mean, to say that this individual cannot hold office because of his job, I mean, talk about discriminatory.
And it's not an ethical issue. This is a legal issue. It's a legal issue. And I'll tell you now, either way that this goes, there could be a legal challenge. Because if he gets to serve, and they're saying he was grandfathered in, somebody could file suit and issue an injunction preventing him from serving until such time as the court rules. Because you can only be grandfathered in if you hold the office at the time of passage. He doesn't hold the office until January. So there is no grandfather clause there. And that's where the big contention comes in.
Yeah. The only time you can do that is if in the agreement it says that anybody hired after a particular date, and then you grandfather everybody in up to that particular, that can actually be prospectively, but that doesn't happen with this because, as Mr. Mioza said, this thing virtually goes in instantaneously, except for a couple of things that need, you know, it has to go through a short process. But the fact is that there's no ability to grandfather and say, well, you can get elected to the school committee if you have a salary, you know, up until 5 years from now, till the next charter revision or something like that. There's nothing like that. So the fact is that, as we said, bottom line is, forget about all the legalities and stuff, because to me it's more than a legal issue. It's an issue of fundamental American rights, American government. This flies in the face, as I said before, this flies in the face of government. And you can run around all you want saying, we won, we won, we won. I feel, and look, you did win, technically. It's a technicality. It's like beating a murder rap because they forgot to Mirandize you. Doesn't mean you didn't kill somebody. Well, as far as I'm concerned, you won. But what you did was you won on a technicality. The people didn't do enough research in this thing, and people didn't have the time to do what you did. Take 2 years to get signatures, put up signs, and basically deceive the public. And I'll tell you, this is just the first thing in a long line of things people are not going to be happy with this charter. They are going to be sorry they voted for this charter, and the sad part about it is, unless they throw this entire thing out, they're going to have to live with this, because never again can the people affect the change in this charter. Remember what we said on the last show. It's about people elected by the city council, by the mayor, and by the vice chair of the school committee. So, you know, that's it. Forget about it. You can't elect a whole bunch of people you want that is going to change the charter to the way you want it. Because never again will you be able to affect any change in this charter. So, you know, the majority rules, but I think a lot of the majority didn't know what they were voting for. And it's a sad commentary, because we have lost some fundamental American rights, which is far more important than even the legal questions to me. Because, as I said, when you get an individual who's elected, and believe me, there are a lot of people elected that I don't like. But the fact is that if they get elected, that's it. They're elected.
That's right.
You agree with when they do something right, and you disagree when they do something wrong. But the fact is, if they're elected, they're elected.
And I'm going to tell you now,
he was elected by the people.
That's right.
By the voters. And for a document to take that right away is reprehensible.
And I'm going to tell you right now, people, I don't want to hear from you complaining about your water bill. You voted 8,174 to bond $123 million. For the next 20 years, that bill is going to appear on your water bill on top of your water and sewer fees, which have already doubled. Okay? You did not know. And personally, I think that things like this should be limited to voting only by property owners. Because the property owners are the ones that have to pay for this. Because the tenants don't pay for it. But the tenants are going to pay for it now. Because when this water bill comes in the first time, you're going to have to raise your rents. You're going to have to do it. It's just like when that school budget comes out and they're asking for a $240 million debt override. That's going to go on the tax bill every quarter for the next 20 years. That's going to go on the tax bill. And guess what's going to happen? Your rent's going to go up. So if you've got a nice cushy rent of $300, $400, $500, $600, $700, $800, be ready to kiss it goodbye, because guess what? It's not going to be there for much longer. This is becoming, you know how we used to call it Taxachusetts?
Yeah.
This is Tax River.
Well, you know, the thing is that they always con you. They break it down. Oh, it's only going to be $25 a quarter or something like that, or $50 a quarter. Well, $50 for this, $25 for the sewer. You know, the bottom line is they said, oh, if you don't do it, they're going to make us do this. Well, guess what? If the federal government comes down to make us do this, maybe we can get our federal delegation and our state delegation to go up there and try to get some money for it, since they're mandating it. But now that we've accepted the bill and we're taking it on the chin, we're paying it.
We're paying it.
The election's over. Let's hope we move the city forward, and stay angry because I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
Stay angry, people, and we'll see you on Friday.